My HSC body of work I started planning and thinking about during term 4. Although I had thought about it a lot in the previous years in year 10 and 11, it wasn't really until term 4 that I actually started to contemplate what I was actually going to do. And I had all these ideas going through my head, but it wasn't until I travelled to Vietnam in late 2009 that I really felt that I had a kind of concept or theme to go with. I found sculpture possibly the best way to express my work, because I didn't have the fine skills of drawing or painting, but felt that I was more able to express my ideas through sculpture because it is a bit more interactive, and because my work was about perspective. I felt it was important to engage the audience a little bit more in a 3D object. After my trip to Vietnam, I decided to explore the idea of perspective as far as Vietnam as a country goes. I saw a show, I think it was Top Gear a little while ago, that talked about how people saw Vietnam as a war, not as a country, and that the youth of today was still thinking of it as a war, and I thought that was an interesting concept to go with. And that I decided to look past the media stereotypical imagery and kind of delve into Vietnam as a country, because that's what I had experienced, and I wanted to put those ideas and experiences forward and force people to challenge their own perspective and the general perspective of society. My visual arts process diary was quite important in the process, as it gave me somewhere to put down all my ideas. It gave me a way to kind of put my ideas on paper and express them and have them as a documented form, so that I could look back and reflect on my work and reevaluate ideas that I thought of. And it was really important, especially towards the end, to look back and see how far I'd come, and to realise that it is a process. It isn't just deciding an artwork, but it's more than that. It's a journey through the artwork, I guess. Timing was quite hard. As an HSC student, you have a lot of work on and a few major works, and so it was tricky to manage my time. The most important thing I felt, though, was to designate art time, and that I had to actually sit down and just concentrate purely on art and work on my body of work and try not to get confused between the theory and the practical. And a lot of it, I did a lot at school, but there's a lot of thinking and planning at home as well. In the beginning stages, I did a lot of research into other artists, and especially artists who explored cultural implications and different perspectives upon countries and people. And so there's a few artists. I looked at the Rwandan genocide and the artist Alfredo Yar, who used installation artworks and photographic media as well to explore his ideas. And so I thought that by looking at other artists such as him and Jasper Jones, that I could kind of do my own interpretation of what they had done. The audience engagement in the work was extremely important, as it's basically the entirety of the work is to engage the audience and to get them to force themselves to challenge perspective and look into the work a bit further than just on the outside level. And because it is an interactive work, the introspection that the audience has to undertake kind of provides the meaning of it, and it's extremely important. And the whole way through, I wasn't just thinking of how I would perceive the work, but how the audience would engage with it. I did. At the beginning of term 4, when I was practicing with different mediums, I had a go at printmaking and other photography. I didn't submit those smaller trials, I guess, and experiments, but put them in my diary, in my visual arts process diary, to kind of provide a bit of process and a bit of evaluation later down the track. And but the entire work, my entire cube, that was all that I did. There wasn't any other pieces to go with it. To be honest, I think I was selected for ARTEXPRESS because my work is not typical teenage ideas. I felt that it was a bit of a new concept, and because Australia is getting a lot more multicultural, I think it is not so much political, but it just allows people to challenge the current ideas about society and society's thoughts.